of the Urban Renewal Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2014. Take roll call.
Commissioner Mom? Here. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Benville?
Here.
Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Megelberg? And Chair Polly.
Here. All right, moving on to citizen comments.
Here she is.
Here she is.
Oh. All right.
Here.
Due
And
to the fact
Commissioner
that we have-
Megelberg just arrived.
Yes.
Nice.
Due to the fact that we have no citizens in the audience, there are no citizen comments tonight. Adoption of the agenda. Is there any reason not to adopt the agenda? Okay. Approve the agenda. Moving on to general business. 14-385 Commercial Brokerage Services Agreements for Urban Renewal Infill Properties. Staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Polly. At the last URC meeting, I brought this issue up to the Urban Renewal Commission and requested authorization to negotiate a contract with the commercial broker for the properties at 922 Main Street, 12th and Main, and 1910 Clackamas Drive. That was approved, and so before you tonight is the agreement. Actually, there are three separate agreements, one agreement for each property in question. They're all identical except for the terms of the sale and the location of the properties, identical as far as scope of work. So tonight I'm bringing this before you to sign due to the level or the amount of potential commission that could be made from the sale of the properties. It's the commission has to authorize that. So.
Okay. Are there any differences in the contract? They're all, the commission's 5% the purchase price on all of them?
Right.
Okay, and so the terms are the same and it's for 1 year?
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
How many applicants were competing for this honor?
We had 3 submittals.
And what tipped the scales in favor of this contractor?
I believe it was the understanding of the property and the surrounding market, as well as the commission that was proposed.
Could you remind me again the first property listed?
The first property?
Mm-hmm.
That's 10th and Main,
1910.
922 Main Street is 10th.
No.
This is McDonald's.
Oh.
1910 Clackamas Drive is
Which one's in McDonald's?
McDonald's one.
Is yes. Okay. Again, does this happen to come to the city commission? Those are city owned as opposed to a renewal agency owned.
No, as long as it's within the urban renewal district.
So it doesn't. It
Right.
doesn't make any difference.
And it's in the urban renewal plan to
Okay.
acquire. So.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
1910 Clackamas Drive. On the map, it's showing really just as those 2 separate lots.
They're 2 separate lots. They're being marketed as one. One site, one development site. So combined.
Okay, well, in the map, it just shows the middle section.
It does. It just shows one lot on the map that we have.
But we're talking about the whole section?
Yeah, so there are actually 2 lots. I just drew a polygon around both lots.
I'm not sure I knew they were 2 separate lots.
Okay.
Now that I know that they're 2 separate lots, that may change my thinking on it a little bit. I mean, it's the same discussion we've had before about parking and the park usage and things like that. I didn't know they were 2 separate lots. That makes it a little bit more interesting in knowing whether or not one lot could be sold and the other lot could be kept, or vice versa, or as the whole. So I'm not sure.
Well, the reason we did that is because of the balance cut and fill. It's in the floodplain, so if you
Okay.
fill one, it's going to be hard not to
Right.
fill the other.
Right, because the 1910 parcel is
Right.
more.
If you go down onto the page, it shows the other lot.
Right. Okay. Well, on the map, it just shows it as.
So they're not, in summary, they're not marketable as separate lots.
Right.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I did have a question. Did the real estate broker provide any guidance or insight on what types of uses might be most attracted to these properties?
No, he knows the zoning, and I've communicated the goals to the commission of what they would like to see developed in these properties, a mixed-use development, and so that's what he's targeting. And any client that he gets a proposal would come before the commission, so that'd be approved.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve item 14-385, the commercial brokerage service agreements for the urban renewal infill properties.
Second.
Okay, and the vote is Commissioner Mum,
Aye.
Commissioner Roth,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Neely,
Aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Benville,
Aye.
and Chair Polly.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Technology, don't you love it, Nancy?
There's something about some renewal, I can't figure it out.
Every penny.
I think people are more reliable on certain days. It depends. Okay, moving on to 14-387, Clackamas Cove LLC second request for DDA time limit extension. Staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request from Clackamas Cove to extend their DDA due diligence or deadline to meet the preconditions of the DDA for 90 days from their previous extension, which the deadline was formerly October 15th. Now it would be January 15th. The commission informally approved that request at the last meeting and asked staff to bring it back for formal approval at the next meeting, and so you have that request here tonight before you.
Is there any other discussion on this?
I do, if I might.
I have a question too.
Okay, Mayor Neely.
I really felt we made it clear that this extension was solely for the Boley
Right.
approval, and that we recognize the economic constraints that the developers were under, but we also know there are other individuals that are or entities are interested in those properties, and that, from my standpoint, our extension was solely for the Boley decision.
Correct.
That failing, I think we need to look elsewhere.
Commissioner Roth.
That, my thing was the same because I explicitly remember saying this is it. This is the line.
Yep.
So,
Right. I think the explanation last week was it's kind of out of their hands. It's in a Boley appeal
Yep.
process right now, and they have the right to do that with state ORS. So.
right.
So coincidentally, we had a meeting with them today. They brought in their principal investors. There were 3 of them from Denver, and they met with us today to kind of review this. And the investors were getting up to speed on some of the elements of the DDA, and Ed was there. And we reiterated to them the history of where we've been in the last 7 years or so, but especially the last year. And Eric and I both made it clear to them that we felt like the commission, this was sort of the last hurrah for this project.
Yes.
And what we conveyed to them was that the sentiment that we got from you at the work session was that it's Boley only. And when you get a resolution from Boley one way or the other, you'll still have a choice to either proceed with the Boley ruling as is, or not do the project, or do the project. If you get the Boley ruling, of course you're going to do the project. If you don't, you still have a chance to do the project. You're just going to have to pay prevailing minimum wage or prevailing wage. So they understand it. They really have 3 options there. And I told them, I made it clear, as you just did, Mayor, that this was only for Boley, and when we had an answer, we were going to want a project that was either going to go forward or not, but we weren't going to keep waiting. And I think that's what I've gotten from you folks loud and clear. And I wanted to make sure that they understood that.
Yeah, so listening to these concerns, there is a way to make sure that they are just working with BOLI, and that's the problem, and that's what's taking the time.
I guess I'd like to just add on to there. And maybe I'm anticipating something that just simply won't happen. If BOLI doesn't come through, yes, they go forward with the project, but they withdrew their need for urban renewal support on the project. I'm not willing, I'm just telling you ahead of time, I'm not willing to entertain them coming back for urban renewal funding support.
I don't think there's any thought of doing that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also have a sunset on those tax credits at some point.
Yes.
And so will the next person. So that's another reason we don't want to wait too long here. You know, if we can't get this worked out, I still think there's a chance that the project would pencil, even if they had to pay prevailing wage. It's just going to not be the same kind of return they were hoping for. But that's something I don't have privy to all their numbers, so I don't need to know that. But they need to figure that out, and I think it's good for us to keep these deadlines and stay with them.
Commissioner Mengelberg?
My understanding is that part of the property is owned by the city, so that's another part of the equation. They are requesting urban renewal funds, but they're also requesting to purchase city property. So for either of those two reasons, this council could decide to, withdraw their support if they so choose.
Just clarification, it's owned by the Urban Renewal District.
Renewal agency,
Yep.
yes.
The land.
Yes.
Yep.
Anything else?
Move to approve 14-387 Clackamas Cove LLC second request for DDA time limitation extension.
Second.
Yay for technology.
I figured it out.
This time.
And motion approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. Okay, 14-389, minutes of June 4th, 2014 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
And the motion is approved unanimously.
Are there any future agenda items? Hearing no future agenda items. Yes?
Renata?
Oh, I'm sorry, Renata.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you
I
on
meant
the
to
floor?
withdraw.
That was from.
Oh, okay.
From before.
Okay, hearing none. City manager's report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's among the council's goals to complete the reconstruction of the Ermitinger House. And I ordinarily would report to them on this, but because it's in the district and we have lots of extra time here, I wanted to share the latest news about the Ermitinger. Scott Archer's been working on the project, and we're just a few weeks away from starting the reconstruction. We now have all the funds. So this is really exciting because it's been a long road to get here. So, Scott, would you mind giving them a little update?
Hello, Commissioners. I don't get to report to the Urban Renewal Commission very often. As David said, we're pretty close to actual construction starting. I know our City Commission members of this committee know this, but some of the Urban Renewal Commission members may not be aware that though it's our project, the county is actually in charge of doing the contract for us, the bidding contract and the construction contract, and that's because we received a substantial amount of money through the Community Development Block Grant program, which requires them to be the contracting agent. So with that in mind, the county led the process to do the bidding. There was a qualifying process for this that was kind of above and beyond a normal bid because of the level of historical expertise that we required of the contractors to do this project, because obviously it's a little bit different than just doing a kind of a normal construction thing. So selection process occurred. The company name of T.S. Gray is the contractor that will be doing the work. We're actually having the pre-construction kickoff meeting tomorrow morning, which is where everybody gathers, and our architects and engineers and our staff and and then the contractor, and basically set everything into motion. And so in the very near future, as David said, you'll be seeing activity over at the site. You'll be seeing construction equipment coming in, fencing going up around the property, and we'll be underway. And I think it's once the construction actually begins, it's approximately about a 120-day contract, and that will be a little bit depending on the weather as we get into the fall, kind of towards the tail end of the project. So, yeah, we're very excited about that.
Great.
Scott, I'm not too familiar with the project. Can you explain a little bit, maybe even to the public, what the scope of work is?
Basically, it is completely renovating and restoring the entire building so that it will be essentially exactly in terms of the architecture and the detail and that type of thing, exactly as it would have been originally, taking it down to the level of kind of redoing some of the things that bring it back to even its original look and construction. Most of what the public is going to see is going to be the interior. Most of what would be visible is going to be the interior, although the whole building is going to be restored. So complete restoration and then preservation. What triggered a lot of this is the fact that it was we were having structural issues with the facility, the foundation, and that kind of triggered the whole process of realizing that in order to keep the building, it needed to be entirely restored. So from basically foundation up, it will be a new old building.
A new old building.
A new old
If that
building, I
makes
like
sense.
that.
I think it's worth telling you that what had happened was we were starting to do some work on it. We removed window frames in the building. They were structurally supporting the actual building.
Oh, wow.
So it was really compromised.
Huh. Interesting.
And you said the timeline is 120 days to complete? That's not
correct.
That's not
too
much.
long. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
For an entire building rebuild.
It's taken us a few years to get to this point, but once the actual construction begins, it's not a terribly lengthy process.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Is the intention to continue as a museum once it's completed?
I believe so. That's some discussion that we're going to need to have with our city commissioners in terms of how we're going to continue, operating it. It will be a museum of some type, and how exactly that's going to take place, we'll have some further discussion about. But yeah, it'll be the intent is for the public to be able to be in the building and see it and view it and enjoy it and so forth.
The real significance of the building, as I understand it, is the only remaining Hudson's Bay residential structure in the Pacific Northwest.
It's very important.
So one other question, I'm not
Sure.
familiar with historic preservation. Do you need to do any seismic upgrades since it's so old?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be much sturdier than it is today.
That's not saying a lot.
Right.
It will stay standing for many, many years to
We
come.
hope so. That's the
If
idea.
it survives the film shoot this weekend,
Yes, that is exciting.
this week.
All right.
I had just one other thing. Eric has a date he wants to remind you about.
I just wanted to add on to what David was saying earlier about the Cove project, just to give you an idea of their timing. August 6th is when they're going to have their first hearing with Boley, and so their attorneys are working with Boley attorneys right now, and that's when it all kind of kicks off for that appeal.
So we might hear something by then. A little
maybe
bit how it's going.
maybe a little after, a
Maybe.
couple weeks after,
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
So one thing that I sent an email to you, though, Eric, was there's some other timelines and some other deadlines that were part of that.
Right, yeah. Some of these have been moved off. Some of their approvals have been moved up or back because of the extension. We're still proceeding with the ones that the Urban Renewal Commission is approving. We're still on schedule for those. They just have a couple of items that have been moved back because of the extension. And I don't have an inventory of them right now on the top of my head, but right now we're good to go. We're fine. We're fine as far as approving their items that they've submitted. We're on schedule.
Anything else under your report? All right. We're going to...
Before we adjourn, I'd like to pass this out. These are things to do and see in Oregon, and Willamette Falls Legacy Project is in there.
Nice.
They can't go out and look at it yet, but it is in there. So
Yeah,
Things
that's
to-
TravelOregon.com.
mhm.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Passed to me by the Museum of the Oregon Territory.
Adjourning the meeting of urban, yeah.
Can I just ask for one update on Amtrak? Where are we at with that? Any place?
I was investigating how we can approach the scope and the new amount. We can't do a change order. We're still within the BOLI realm, so I've asked the contractor this week to go back and just give us an estimate with the prevailing wage included.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anything else?